Hello, guys. Today I have a wonderful treat for you. I have Clean Carnivore. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Emily. How are you?
Good, good, good. I am so excited to dive into your story today. I have been following you on social media at Clean Carnivore, and I've just really loved everything that you said. And then you asked to meet with me to hear my story because you're writing a book. And so I'm so excited to share with everybody not only about the book, but right now your story. Thank you so much for doing this talk with me.
Absolutely. Pleased to do it. And your excitement is mirrored with mine. I remember our first meeting, and I remember how absolutely clueless I was as to who you were and your story. As a matter of fact, we marveled at it during that meeting that I had not one clue. And I thought that I was pretty up to speed, so to speak, with those who were making the movement go, but I had no idea. And what a blessing that was to meet you that first time. Yeah.
It was really nice for me too, because I'm used to people knowing my story and they're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. So it was fun to tell you my story to fresh ears, you know?
I
So
remember.
thank you for that. But
Yeah.
today I want to hear your story. So just let us know, where were you at emotionally, physically, mentally before carnivore?
Hmm. Well, actually, I'll make a quick trip back 9 years.
Okay.
9 years, I had a photograph taken of me. Um, and just say that when I saw that photograph after it was already developed, because that was in the time of film, after it was developed, I go, this is a truth moment for me. This is a time when I need to do something about my weight. I was 5'9" at the time, and I weighed 256 pounds. And on a 5'9" frame, that's way too heavy. So I immediately started restricting calories, went nuts on exercise, got down to 196 pounds or 92 pounds. And unfortunately, that's when symptoms for AFib, atrial fibrillation, hit my heart. So the next 8 years was a battle with with my heart, doing cardioversions, doing ablations, both cryoablations as well as RF or radio frequency ablations. And finally, about 4 years ago, that was solved. So the yo-yo diet continued until mid-June of this year, when I found myself at 224 pounds. And I was minding my own business, as I say. And I was watching a podcast about something completely different. And all of a sudden, there was this video done by Barbara O'Neill out of Australia. She's a nutritionalist. She's a whole health presenter. And she was presenting this video. And it was just a short clip. And I only saw a little bit. But what I heard was the truth. And it was the truth about nutrition. And it was also in complete opposition to the lies that most of us have been told our whole lives. So from that, I started searching YouTube and searching out her content specifically, and voraciously. I consumed everything that I could find. And one video that she did was called Weight Loss and Diabetes. She went into the cellular level of how our body is fueled either by glucose or by fat. And it was amazing. It was probably about an hour-long video. Um, in her videos, as I was watching them, she also suggested books. The primary one was Wheat Belly by Dr. William Davis. It hit me like a ton of bricks, because right in the beginning of his book, he talks about all the lies from big food, big pharma, and big government, and how we've been led down this rosy path to think that all we need is healthy whole grains, fruits and vegetables, calories in, calories out, and you're going to get better. You're going to lose weight. It was all negative information. And so when I started on a low carb diet, because of Barbara's video, I started losing weight. But that and I also picked up an Atkins book, the new Atkins for the New You. Read that. That's what started me on low carb. I went from there to intermittent fasting. And I was also still connected to YouTube, and I kept hearing about this diet, a really strange one called carnivore. And because I'd already cut down to less than 20 carbs a day, and I was intermittent fasting, which, by the way, let me throw this in. If you're going from a low carb diet to intermittent fasting, I find that it's a pretty easy step. If you're going from high carb to fasting, not so easy.
No.
Not so easy at all. And in my intermittent fasting, I've done 3 days, 4 days, 5 days with no problem. Coming off the fast with bone broth and homemade sauerkraut, avocado, and fried egg. I mean, that was a meal to behold, I'm telling you. So anyway, then around October 1 of this year, I was still struggling with, well, what do I do about the date when I started carnivore? Because I was sort of intermittent fasting, I was low carb, I was doing this and that. Finally, October 1, I said, that's it. I'm done. I'm carnivore. So I went to Costco and I bought large subprimal hunks of meat and my own breaking knife, and I broke it down into steaks, vacuum packed it, put it in my freezer, and that brings us to the present. So the last time I went, I bought 4 of those subprimals, all New York strips because it fit my budget, and I filled half my freezer with nothing but New York strip steaks. And some of them had large, wide bands of saturated fat all around them. And I go, yes, serve them up. Because as we both know, in the carnivore diet, yes, it's important to get protein, but it's just as important to make sure that your ratio of fat is up there, because it's the fat that really supplies the ketones that your body runs on. So that's the other thing that Barbara O'Neill taught me, is that it's a metabolic switch from sugar burner to fat burner. And you want to make that switch so that you can live. So yeah, so that's me.
So okay, so I heard the progression of the time. So you have basically been pretty much 100% carnivore since October 1.
Yes.
But
yes.
you came into it through Atkins and low carb and everything.
Yes.
And then
yes.
today, as we're recording, it's November 28th. So this is a really quick turnaround. So what changes have you found in your body or in your experience?
Okay, so let me go to the high carb mind watching this. And the high carb mind is just sitting on the edge of their chair. How much weight did this guy lose?
Okay.
So in 3.5 months, I lost 40 pounds. I'm down to 184 this morning.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. And so again, those who are looking to carnivore for weight loss, that should encourage you. And I did that without exercise, which is another thing that usually gets asked. Well, did you exercise? No, I did not. Okay. So, but here's the thing, and this is what really hooked me into, I would even say, preaching about carnivore. And the reason being is that before carnivore, I was depressed. I had brain fog. I had inflammation from rheumatoid arthritis in my hip. I had toenail fungus. I had no energy. I was always hungry before low carb. Okay. Never could satisfy that hunger. There was always this hunger that was going around. Okay. So draw a circle around all of those symptoms and label it at the top normal.
Yeah.
So that's what I was calling normal and what I was willing to put up with as normal. Now, as of this morning, and actually very quickly after I started low carb and finally carnivore, those all disappeared. And as a matter of fact, the biggest part was depression. And I know that that hits for you.
Yes.
And what I can tell you is with suicidal ideation,
Yeah.
and that is a huge thing to admit. It's a huge thing to get rid of as well. The brain fog went away. I have the mental clarity that I had in my teen years and 20s. Yes, yes, exactly. It is amazing. I have boundless energy. I have no hunger. Well, let's put it this way. I just did a video yesterday about the difference between hunger and craving. Craving is started in the gut, but you experience it in a dopamine center in your brain. Your dopamine center, after you've gone 2 or 3 hours from the last meal, says, hey, your brain needs more glucose. You need a bagel. You need a muffin. You need this. You need that. You need sugar. Bring it into the body because the brain is lacking. Okay. But when you get hungry, it manifests in your gut. And not only does it manifest in your gut, but it's also something that you can stave off. So let's say you ate a meal at 8 o'clock in the morning. Now it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and you go, but I'm doing something. I can't get to my hunger right now. So you grab your water bottle, you take a couple of swigs of water. That'll put it off maybe a half an hour. Maybe you can stretch it to an hour when you've got time to make your meal. But it isn't this overpowering, overwhelming feeling that I've got to eat, the same way that the cravings are when they come from the dopamine center. You're seeking, you're looking for something that will satisfy, and it really doesn't make it any difference what. It just means I need to feed it, and it's almost a beast, the way I look at it. But the hunger that you get from the low carb and the carnivore diet is completely different, completely controllable. You know, if for some reason you're out and about and you're just not around food, you can wait until you get home. I mean, reasonably. So yes, that's where that is. And oh, say okay, so I have no hunger, I have boundless energy, I have a clear mind, I have no and just recently, it's probably been about 3-4 weeks ago, I'm walking across Costco. Everybody knows Costco is a big place. And as I'm walking to the door where they're going to check my receipt, I notice that I'm walking without pain.
Wow.
So the inflammation and the pain in my hip was the last to go, but it's gone.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
it's gone.
That's
Yeah. And the
everything.
ability, and I'm a walker. I'm a walker in my normal life. That's how I get my exercise. And so what a blessing that is. Yeah.
Mm.
So it's not just to lose weight, it's a curative lifestyle, better than any pill you can take.
Yes. And to not have pain. Like I thought that was normal. I was popping ibuprofen like it was candy because
Yes,
I was 40 years old and I just hurt. I woke up in the morning and I hurt. I walked all day, throughout my day and I hurt. And so I would just take the ibuprofen thinking it was normal. And now I have zero pain. And I can't tell you the last time I took ibuprofen. And I had no idea that this was normal, not
right,
having pain.
right. So let me throw another um, stick on the fire.
Okay.
Here it is. You're 40 and you're taking ibuprofen because you want to get rid of the pain. At 75 years old, you start to think these thoughts. Well, is this just the normal part of aging? Do I have to put up with this for the rest of my life, however long I might live? And the answer that I can clearly say now is no. Emphatically, no. Yeah. So my health is better than it's been in decades. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And talk to me real quick a little bit about your lens of the way that you saw life before, whenever you were experiencing depression and suicidal ideation, and the lens and the way that you see life now?
Completely differently. While I still, in my depressed state, while I still had dreams and ideas, sometimes I would lack the motivation to get anything started because those are all pretty much debilitating. And so I just remembered while you were asking that question something else. So I went from obese to overweight. Not only that, but I went from pre-diabetic to a normal blood,
Wow.
H1AC, whatever. Yeah, normal
Wow.
blood work. Yeah,
Wow. That quick. That's amazing.
absolutely. Yeah. Now, I wasn't very far on the other side, but I was up above 6. I think I was 6.5 or 6.6, something like that. So to drop below 5, yeah, or not drop to 5, yes, absolutely. And everybody's all concerned about lipids as well. And I can tell you that I had a very frank discussion with my endocrinologist the last time I saw her. And I said, okay, well, I understand the LDL is up, but what I've read about carnivore is because I'm taking in saturated fat and I'm taking it, the particle in the LDL may not be small coins, which is really not good for you, but might be fluffy pillows. And she said, we will check that on the next blood work. And so, even though it does weird things to your cholesterol, what I can also tell you is that I'm not sure that the medical community is really knows what cholesterol is, what it does, what it's for. I think that it's been skewed. So I think that the carnivore community might be adding to that knowledge base by personal experience. I could be
Yeah.
wrong, but
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there's doctors that talk about that all the time in the carnivore community. Um,
right.
so as far as, your day to day, like your local friends or community, family, are they thinking that you're crazy to eat this way? Are they surprised by the results? Are you getting any feedback from them?
I've not gotten any feedback from my immediate family because it's just my wife and I who live at home. But what I will tell you is that I have a good friend who I've had for many, many, many years, and he's had Crohn's disease for as long as I've known him. I know. And
So painful.
I have had 2 long discussions with him about the carnivore diet. And he has said during those discussions, wow, it sounds really interesting, has never pointed fingers, has never said, oh, that's crazy, but he's still hanging on to his carbs. And he's still in his mind, I think, convinced that, you know, carbs are still okay to eat. And so I'm not going to argue, but what I did is I captured a snippet out of Reddit, and it was a man who had had Crohn's for 18 years, several surgeries, and 3 weeks on carnivore was symptom free.
Wow.
Symptom free. So I sent that to my friend, and he said, well, you know what, Steve, I know that you did your research. And he said, well, but I'm still not convinced. And I said, you remember when we were in high school, when we were writing a research paper, they told us not only to research the topic, but that we should go behind our sources and we should vet our sources. We need to know what their agenda was, and we needed to know who was paying them. And
Yeah.
I said, and that's what I've done. And what I can tell you is that there's lies coming out of big food, big pharma, big government that you've got to be aware of. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, he still hasn't changed, but the discussion, as far as I'm concerned, is still open. So yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. And walk me through real quick, like how it was for you, because we do have a lot of, this cognitive dissonance. Did you feel kind of guided into this way of eating? Like like, yes, this is the right way, or were you kind of tiptoeing like, this is dangerous?
Wow. I would call that an insightful question. Because Barbara O'Neill talks about the fact that she's a Seventh-day Adventist, having a Christian faith that lines with me. For the most part, Seventh-day Adventists are vegetarians, and so that's where we kind of split in ideology, but it's okay. And so what I can tell you is that I came up with this, thank God for COVID. And I don't know too many people that would ascribe to that
Yeah.
phrase, thank
Yeah.
God for COVID. But what I would tell you is I believe that the divisions in our country and in our world were already there. And I believe that there was a light that was shined during COVID, and we became aware of who was who.
Yeah.
And the lines were then, they were visible to everyone. I believe that there was a light shined. So I kind of call carnivore the truth diet, because it's really in opposition to all the lies that we've been fed for so long. And as a matter of fact, I can tell you that reading Wheat Belly and starting on low carb eating, I'm absolved of all the guilt that I felt for decades, because I've been overweight my whole life. And I've been trying to be a rule follower. I was a bread baker, for crying out loud. I baked sourdough bread. I baked artisan loaves, and gave them away at will. Anyway, what I can tell you is also recently, like only a couple of months ago, I started listening to Jordan and Michaela Peterson. And Michaela, I know, I feel the same way.
I
And
love them.
Michaela says, well, this is about the lion diet. And I go, lion diet? What's a lion diet? Well, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's ruminant animals that all have multiple stomachs, split hooves, and chew the cud. So that's beef, lamb, goats, deer, bison, elk, moose.
Yep.
And so it's also what the Lord refers to in the Old Testament as clean animals, and prescribed that diet for the Israelites.
Wow.
So that spoke to me as well. And again, it's why I call it the truth diet. Yeah, because it's following the truth. And
Mhm.
as a matter of fact, my logo a is a lion's head. So partly for the lion diet, but also for the Lion of Judah. So that's how I feel. Yes, that's it. That's the one. So yeah, I believe that very definitely I was not tiptoeing at all. I was confidently going down this path, and led with my nose, wherever I was led. And I've also said that during this time, there were times when I would step out and I'd be stepping to the right, and I felt as though my foot was moved to the left,
Mm.
or vice versa. And so it was kind of like my steps were being guided in the way of finding not just the diet, but other things that have been going on in my life as well. So yes.
Yeah. So would you say that you can tell a difference in your connection with God or spiritual things? Or I noticed that for me personally, but I didn't notice it until it was there. It wasn't something that I was intending. So it wasn't something like I was measuring every day, like, oh, I feel closer to God. Oh, I feel clearer. But did you notice that along your way?
Very definitely so. And I can pick the day, June 14th
Wow.
of this year, when I watched that video. And I know that not only did that change the way I ate, but it also started a whole um, cascading effect. And to the point where sometime 1st of October, I came up with the fact that he's filled me, he's given me a message, and he's opened my mouth. And I've been
Mm.
a believer for 40 years. So this is something brand spanking new. Scripture jumps off the page. It means something to me. It's, yeah, it's a lamp unto my feet and a light to my path. So
Yeah,
yes.
because you're clearing out all the noise. You're clearing out
Yeah,
all the noise of the
right.
inflammation and the sugar and the processed foods. And there were so many times I would be sitting there in prayer or even reading, and I would just be like, oh, I wonder what I have in the fridge, or I wonder what's in the cabinet, or what am I going to make later, or my back hurts, or like I was distracted by so many things. And this just like centers me. Like I'm clear because I don't have all of that extra noise in my head.
I can tell you that just what you said brings to my mind what it was like living on a high carb diet. And I wouldn't be finished with one meal, and I'm already concerned with what I'm going to have for my next meal.
Yep.
And I can't tell you how wonderful it is not to have that clutter in your head. And I don't have to worry about what's for dinner. I know. I don't even have to worry about, yeah. And as a matter of fact, if in fact the the meat that I'm going to eat, if it's in the refrigerator and it's thawed, it's a matter of turning on the stove for 3 minutes to heat the fry pan. And in that time, I can salt and pepper the meat, and I can put it in 4 minutes on one side, 3 minutes on the other side. So 3 minutes to heat, 4 minutes to cook, 3 minutes to cook. In 10 minutes, dinner's on. Boom.
Ta-da.
And there's no thinking about it. The
Mm-mm.
decision process is completely removed. And as a matter of fact, um, it reminds me of Steve Jobs.
Mm.
Steve Jobs always dressed in a black turtleneck and black jeans. And his reason behind that is he cut down on the number of decisions he needed to make during the day. And that spoke volumes to me. And now that I've kind of taken that to my food and what I eat, yes, which brings to my mind something else. And that is that when you're on a high carb diet, it's very easy. And I was this way. I was an emotional eater. If I was sad, I ate. If I was happy, I ate. If I was celebrating, I ate. Okay. So it was emotional support. Now food I see as fuel. Not only that, but it's fuel that I know that my body needs. And I've switched to wanting the food that my body needs, instead of I want this because I know it's sweet, or I want this because I know, yeah, no, I eat what I know my body needs. Yeah. And that's settling. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I call it food freedom. And people
Yes.
are like, what? Food freedom? You're only eating meat. And I'm like, no, I have so much freedom from thinking about food.
Right. Right. And you know, here's the thing. You just touched on something, or at least it brought to my mind, that a person who has eaten carbs their whole life has really no concept
No.
of what the carnivore, you have to do it. And I say probably a month before you really understand, even begin to understand what it's all about. And so, yeah. And somebody said to me one time, well, it sounds boring. And I said, no, you don't understand. If you're on carbs, you eat, and then 2 hours later, you're hungry. So you eat again. You never get hungry. But what I
Yeah.
can tell you about carnivore is that if you eat an appropriate amount of fat, that fat satiates you, you're satisfied, and now you're going to go 5 or 6 hours before your next meal. You get hungry in your gut. And guess what? If you're hungry in your gut and you're going to cook a steak, it tastes good. It doesn't taste like the steak you had at 8 o'clock in the morning. It tastes like the good food you just prepared for yourself. And it's amazing. It amazes me even today that I've been eating now since the 1st of October this way, and it's not boring at all, period. In fact, I
Yeah.
can't wait until my next meal.
That's
Well, I
awesome.
can, but yes,
Yeah, you're
absolutely.
looking forward to your next meal.
Yes.
And you mentioned fasting. I'm actually I've been experimenting with dry fasting, and I'm 2 days into a 3 day dry fast.
Oh
And
my.
as you can tell, I'm just so depleted, and I'm so like I have no energy and no
I
mental
noticed.
clarity, and I literally have not eaten or drank in 48 hours, and this is what you get. And I never in a million years would have thought that that would be the case. But like you said before, if you're fasting with carbs, it's a completely different ball game than fasting, as
Right.
she talks about, fat adapted, where you're actually fueling on the fat.
Yes.
So
Yes.
what is your experience been with fasting?
Oh, it's a glorious one. First of all, when I thought about fasting before, and we're talking decades ago, talking about fasting and doing fasting from a carb lifestyle to fasting, even drinking water, water only fast, it was a horrible experience. And I couldn't imagine why anyone, did you catch that? Why anyone would want to do that. Then I started fasting after I'd gotten low carb and fat adapted, apparently. And what I can tell you is it's a completely different experience. I'm going to do a shout out to Dr. Mindy Pels, who
Yes.
really does a lot about intermittent fasting. And I've got on my refrigerator a timeline of what happens hour by hour, time chunk by time chunk, what happens to your body. And I'm most amazed at autophagy,
Yes.
the ability of the body to sweep out the garbage, and you're turned new again. All the damaged and tired cells are gone. You rebuild your gut biome. You've got boundless energy. Where does that energy come from? Ketones. Who would guess that if you're not eating, you'd have that kind of energy? But actually, your stored fat is the warehouse, and you've got plenty. So, yeah, my experience with fasting is amazing to me. What I can also tell you is, because I'm an author publisher, I find that fasting is a wonderful place to write.
Ooh.
Yes. Ooh is right.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
because honestly, I'm sure it gets those creative juices flowing, and you
Right.
have so much more mental clarity, and you have the recall. I have so much quicker recall of words whenever I'm in that state. Not
Right.
only just eating carnivore, but also fasting.
Well, here's another thing too. If you're going to write about something you know about, right? I mean, that's kind of a given. But here's another thing, that there's all kinds of writers, because I belong to writers groups that talk about writer's block. Well, when you're fasting, and I'm going to let it slip. Um, if coffee is a demon, I haven't gotten rid of the coffee demon yet. And
It's
I'm a
okay.
bulletproof guy first thing in the morning. So coconut oil and butter, and buzz it with my buzz it so it's all together. And that's how I start my morning. Well, by 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, I'm cooking. So yeah, that's a wonderful experience, by the way, when you're fasting. So yeah. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
So you said that you're an author already. Um, Let us know. Was it just like a natural progression for you to have this experience and want to write a book about it? And were your other books about food?
The other books were not about food. I took a course about how to become a publisher, and it was coming up with an idea and putting together a bunch of ideas that would all fold into an outline. Then somebody refined that outline. That outline went to a ghostwriter. You were involved in the process and approving and disapproving and massaging the copy. That went to an editor, that went to a formatter, that went to a cover artist, and then it was published. So I did 6 books that way. And the only book that even remotely is on topic is Healthy Living Past 60, was something that I put together. But then, and they were all published under a pen name. So now that I have well, actually, I believe that I was given the idea of writing a book about carnivore, and in October started to put together my network to be able to market it once it gets written. So not only will it be me writing it, but it will also be me publishing it under my name. Yes.
That's
So yeah,
awesome.
yeah. It's a ways away.
Yes. And so you on Facebook or social media, you have the name Clean Carnivore. So where did you get that name?
Mm. It's kind of funny. It's not wholly this way, but clean carnivore comes from I used to be a carpet cleaner,
Oh,
and I actually have an email address. It's clean carpet man. So clean carnivore, just for all of the alliteration that goes on there, is one way. But also, I have to say that I don't mind being clean. Clean is a good thing, and so clean body, clean mind. Yeah. So that kind of fits as well. Um, that's what I want to stand for. And I guess the other thing too is that people say, well, eating clean. I laugh because what I thought was eating clean a long time ago is nowhere near eating clean. Now I have a completely different perspective of what eating clean is. And I can't say that I'm 100% right down the middle of the road lion diet every day, all day, but I'm not eating carbs. Well, the closest thing I get to carbs is I put up 2 gallons of dill pickles before going on the diet. And I have to admit that I'm not going to let those pickles go to waste because you can't buy those pickles in a grocery store. But it isn't as though I sit down and just eat pickles. I don't. But a pickle here, or actually a quarter of a pickle here and a quarter of a pickle there, yes. Do I eat dairy? Yeah, sometimes I eat cheese, and I eat eggs. I eat bacon. I put butter on top of my steak, and on Facebook somebody said, "Ooh, really?" I pointed out to her that, you know what, compound butter and steak has been going together in fine restaurants, fine dining for a very long time. Try it. Yeah. So anyway, but so um, that's where it is. That's where clean carnivore comes from. That's my iteration of clean carnivore.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I love the videos that you're putting out, like the one you just did this week, or what, maybe it was last week, where you have the graphics and you really kind of sum up the lies that we're really fed in society right now, and you bring forth the truth. So I really like following you. So if anybody is listening to this, go follow Clean Carnivore. And I mean, how did you figure out how to do the editing on that? Did you teach yourself? Did you learn?
Oh, I'm so happy that you asked that question because it's wonderful. So on the 4th of October, I did not know how to spell affiliate marketing without without autocorrect, auto spell. So I jumped into the world of affiliate marketing, and I put together what I would refer to now as some very, very crude Instagram reels, and I managed to get an advertiser who put their faith in me, and I was off and running with affiliate marketing. And I got somewhere about a week and a half into that and said, Lord, I can't do this alone. And he said, outsource. And so I had long been associated with onlinejobs.ph, which is a company that operates out of the Philippines with virtual assistants out of the Philippines. And I now have a team of 4. And the video that you're referring to is my social media manager, who is also my web designer. I have 2 Amazon specialists that are special to me, and I now have a full-time blogger as well. So when the website is up and launched, Kittiva, KITTIVA.com, yeah, it'll all be put together, so to speak. And that will be soon, within the next couple of days. So yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I'm so
I'm
excited.
so glad you brought that topic out of me, because it's an opportunity to talk about my team. And they absolutely blow me away, amaze me every single day. And also, because I'm now carnivore, the clarity that I have in my mind, I'm learning at a pace that I don't remember since school. So yeah, it's phenomenal. And thank you that I have that capacity to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, go team. That is an awesome video.
Yes.
I love
Yes.
that.
Yes.
And so I do want to dive in a little bit into what we can expect out of this book that you're writing. And I know that you've set a goal for yourself of when you're going to have that done, but is this going to be a book just about your story? Is it going to be about other people's stories? Is it going to be about, obviously, carnivore? What are we looking for?
I think that it's going to have sections, obviously, because every book does. And I think I want to at least take a lesson from Dr. Davis and Wheat Belly and just say, look, here is the state of our country and our world at present time. And the SAD diet, the standard American diet, is not the way to go. It's riddled, absolutely riddled with lies. And so we have to be awakened to that fact. We also have to be awakened to the fact that there actually are only 2 macronutrients, protein and fat, that are necessary for life and health. And all carbohydrates are absolutely and entirely optional. I mean, Jordan Peterson, Michaela Peterson, et al. There are people who have lived on carnivore diet for 30, 40 years. So you can't say, well, but you should have been eating some vegetables, right? No, absolutely not. So there's going to be that part. Obviously, I'm going to include my story, but I'm also going to focus on other people's stories. As a matter of fact, the 2 of us met because I put a Facebook post up, said, I'm going to write a book and I want tips and tricks. And I also want success stories, but I don't necessarily just want success stories about weight loss. I want to hear what conditions were reversed. And that's how we met. Yeah. You said, well, would you like to hear my story?
Yeah, and you're like, yeah, I would love to. And you were
Sure.
so excited to hear my
Yes.
story. And
Yes.
I thought you were kind of like just being kind. And then when I found out that you had never heard my story before, I was like, oh
No.
my gosh, this is awesome.
So do you know why I was excited? It just comes to me. Do you know why I was excited?
Why?
You were number one. You were the first one that stood up and said, hey, I'll tell you my story.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It was. Yeah. And I say that is divine timing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Hats off to the Lord.
Yeah, it
that
was undeniable. And then just the connection that we got. And I find
Yes.
that whenever I'm in people who are eating low carb, no carb, it's just like this vibe. Like there's just this carnivore zen, this peace, this joy that just exudes out of us because we're not chocked full of inflammation and everything. And there is that peace. So I recognize that whenever we were talking, that the conversation just flowed.
Well, here's another thing that I've noticed. I like to take a step back, and this will probably be in the book as well. And that is I referred to the carnivore diet as the truth diet. And what I also notice or have noticed that the carnivore diet seems to go right along with a conservative flow in the country. I find that they, I was amazed at the number of believers who subscribed to carnivore. I was also surprised that their politics seemed to all be aligned on the conservative side. Perhaps not all, so I felt as though coming to the carnivore lifestyle, because I call it a lifestyle, not a diet as often, is really my people. It's my tribe. I fit in. Yeah. So, yeah, I put a post up not long ago that carnivore is not a diet, it's a curative lifestyle. Yeah, because carnivore cures. And there's others in the community that say meat cures. And I absolutely subscribe to that. So yeah.
Absolutely. So, going forward, I think I know the answer to
Okay.
this, but are you going to reintroduce other foods, or at this point, are you just happy for this weight loss? What's your goal? What's your plan going forward?
Well, thank you very much for asking that as well. I just recently, we all went through Thanksgiving,
Yes.
and and I had steak and a few pieces of turkey, and that was it. And I was a part of a post that was on Facebook, on a community on Facebook, and there were a number of people who said, well, I didn't hold to the diet. I fell off. I did this, I did that. Some said it was a conscious decision. Some were more along the lines of, well, I kind of messed up, and so now I'm paying for it. And what I can tell you is I planned to learn from other people making that mistake and not make it because I was experiencing their mistakes and I didn't want to go down there. And what I can tell you is that for me, I've been on too many diets that didn't work and got off because I was too hungry. They were all calorie restricted diets and I couldn't last. And I've been amazed at the sustainability of the carnivore diet. And no, this is where I'm at. I have no intention of even testing the waters. Well, what would it be like if I had one slice of bread? No, thank you. And that actually comes from something that really stuns a lot of carb eaters, is the fact that a slice of bread will raise your blood sugar higher and faster than granulated sugar.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And for those of us who have experienced mental illness, the last time that I had a food injury, that's what I call it, is literally I'm injured by food, was I made a regular pizza for my son, and there was this little rectangle like this big, and I picked it up and it didn't fit with the other piece of the pizza, and I was just like, and I've been carnivore for 4 years, and I was like, I'll eat this. I had depression for 24 to 48 hours because of this rectangle of pizza, because of the dough. And it's not worth it to me. I feel so good all the time. And it's so funny because I knew exactly when it came, because all of a sudden I started thinking these negative things about myself. I was like, I'm horrible. I'm worthless. I'm useless. And all of a sudden I was like, no, I'm not. I was like, that's a lie. And so I was able to see the lie much clearer. But before, that was my reality. And so I don't play. Like, I just don't play. I don't want to experience mental illness. I love having this clarity and this joy, and I don't want to experience it. So I think you're on the right track.
Yeah. Thank you for that, because that's one more experience that I can put in my experience bag.
Yes.
that I can pull out and say, well, Emily did that, and you don't want to do what Emily did, and Emily doesn't want to do what Emily did anymore. So yeah, exactly. That's my story. I have no plans of changing. So so also what I can tell you is that Cativa.com, my website, is dedicated to serving the community, to educate the community about carnivore, and more importantly, more broadly, I should say, metabolic change, switching from sugar burner to fat burner. You know, I have no quibble with ketovore. With somebody who's dropping the amount of carbs that they eat, fine. You know, and you may, as a ketovore, at some point in time go, well, what's it like to be on the other side, and go carnivore? And I would support that as well. Anybody who is eating mindfully, aware, with their eyes open, and knows the effect of the food that they're taking into their mouth and what it's going to do to their body, I'm okay. You know, you got your big boy pants on, you know, so you can make your own decision, but you have to be aware first. So that's what I'm about, is bringing awareness, bringing education, and serving the community.
That's awesome. Well, I am so excited about your website launching soon. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for stories like yours that really show people how, you know, anybody can do this. Like, anybody can do this. It's not rocket science. It's very simple. You just eat meat and you keep eating meat. And I just want to thank you so much, because your enthusiasm is contagious. Like, I'm so excited to be able to share, like, we'll put it in the show notes, your website, and to be able to go to the people who are suffering, the people who are sitting there elbow deep in a bag of Doritos, eating, you know, a dozen donuts, and feeling like that they are useless and worthless and miserable. And you give them hope, even with just your post. Just, there's more out there. There's more out there. Just listen.
Right. That's exactly it. And as a matter of fact, you hit on my food, Doritos. That was my kryptonite, so to speak. Anything salty, crunchy. Thank God for pork rinds.
Yes.
But yeah, exactly. You know, you can't walk up to somebody who you know is overweight and say, hey, I want to talk to you.
No.
You just can't do that. But what I can say to you is, that's the other thing too, is reading Wheat Belly. I recognized that I had a wheat belly, and I could not walk out in public without seeing wheat belly after wheat belly after wheat belly after wheat belly.
They're everywhere.
It's depressing in some respects. But the other thing that I want to say is that I'm not trying to shout this out, but it is part of, if I can do it, you can do it. I'm 75 years old. If I can do it just by changing what goes into my body and losing 40 pounds in 3.5 months, you can do it too. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for this.
You're welcome.
Friendship. Honestly, I'm so grateful to have you on my team. Like, as soon as we met, it was just like, okay, yeah, we're friends for life. Like, this is
we actually probably have been friends for life.
We probably have been, yeah. But I'm so excited about the things that you're rolling out. I'm so excited for your book, your website. And I want you to know how much I value what you bring to the table as a new carnivore.
Thank you.
Because there's doctors out there. Yeah, there's scientists. Yeah, there's people who've done this for 25 years. But to watch that contrast of your life this year, contrast of your life this year is so encouraging. And I want to give hope to everyone sitting there on the couch right now that this is possible. So any tips that you would have for somebody who is in your shoes 6 months ago?
As a matter of fact, yes.
Okay.
That's almost a softball pitch, because on my website, one of my blogs is how to get started.
No way. That's awesome.
Yes. How to get started. I haven't
seen that.
It is already on the blog. And so there's others, but yeah. And I can just tell you that While you can throw all the garbage food in the garbage today and let the garbage man take it away and start eating meat today, I don't necessarily recommend that. What I would say to you is it's much better to start out with take out the seed oils, take out the highly processed food, throw it out of the boxes and jars first, and then go after the white food, the flour, the potatoes, the rice, all the white sugar, granulated sugar, brown sugar, molasses, whatever sugar goes out the door. The next thing you want to concentrate on is going toward fruits, bananas and apples first, so that you get down so that the only fruit that you're eating is berries. And you can Google which berries are best. Then after you get rid of food or fruit, you can start with all of the root vegetables. So anything that grows below the ground, carrots, rutabagas, turnips, all those go out the door. And then comes cruciferous vegetables, the broccolis and the cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, all that stuff, the cabbages. And interestingly, I posted a post not too long ago. All those are derived from mustard. Yeah, it's all one plant. It was all engineered. It didn't happen in the wild. So watch out. So that leaves you with basically salad greens. And going from all of the high carb down to salad greens, it's fairly easy to get down to the 20 carbs a day, which are prescribed for most Atkins, and most keto is 20 to 50 grams of carbs a day. The closer to 20 you are, the happier you'll be, I think. And then what I say is take 90 days to do that. And then a step from 20 carbs a day to carnivore is a small step. It's no longer a leap of faith. Oh, I hope this works. But rather, you're already familiar. If you've taken 90 days, you're already familiar with the fact that a body changes. You might even be changing your blood work. You might be changing your blood glucose. You might be changing your mental clarity. You might already see conditions that are reversing, and you can get that positive reinforcement, to say nothing of the fact that you might be moving the needle on the scale. So then what that does is that kind of propels you forward, and you realize, well, maybe this is the next logical step. Yeah. So that's essentially how I came. Being an artisan baker, I had several different kinds of flour that all went in the bin the same day, and it just happened to be garbage day, so it was gone. So I couldn't go back out and haul it back out. Not that I wanted to, but yes.
Yeah. The only thing that I would add, it could, just because this is a question I get all the time. Anytime somebody comes to work with me, that's always their first question is, what about my caffeine addiction? And so I tell everyone to keep your caffeine addiction, keep your coffee, black tea, green tea, as long as it's unsweetened, keep it, because you're already going through removing so much and I kept my addiction for a year and a half. And when I broke my addiction to caffeine, it was the most difficult thing I have done to date. Now I'm so happy to be free of it, but I think you're already doing so much. And so you need to at least keep the caffeine along the way. And because when you're going through that 30, 90 days, you get exhausted, like you're really tired. And so that's whenever those thoughts like really creep in, like, I'm really tired. I wish I could have a Snickers bar. I wish I could have, ice cream or whatever. Keep the caffeine so that you can keep that steady, pace.
I would ascribe to that immediately. And because I have, number one.
Yeah.
Number two, the other thing is that I would say what I see so often in the community when that question comes up, well, how about X? Can I still have X and still be considered carnivore? And the answer that I see coming back is can you tolerate X? So if you can tolerate X, and that might mean full fat cream, it might mean half and half, it might mean whole milk in your coffee. If that's what it takes to get you by,
Yeah.
do it. I can't tell, well, you know, because you were addicted to coffee. What does it sound like when you get up in the morning and somebody says, would you like a cup of coffee? You're immediately interested, right? That's your Snickers bar, you know, and that's the hold that coffee has on us for the most part. And so, yeah, I'm with you. Do it until you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And until you want to get rid of it because it's complicating your life in some way.
Well, and at that point, I had a year and a half under my belt. And so I knew that I was going to be able to do this. And I was ready to let go of the caffeine.
Got it.
But I don't feel like, you know, like baby carnivores or baby ketovores should do that, because
I agree.
The goal is compliance. The goal is not for you to have a carnivore card or to have, you know, whatever. It is just for you to say, okay, I'm going to do this. This is my experiment. This is what I'm doing. And then you comply. You comply with what you're doing, not, you know, running a marathon. We're getting by. We're getting by.
We just came through Thanksgiving, and it is the one holiday of all year that the only focus really, aside from Thanksgiving and giving thanks, is food. Okay. And there was this discussion online about one day is not going to hurt you. No, one day won't necessarily throw you off track if you get right back on track. It could derail you if you allow it to. But I guess the point was, one day is not going to make you fat.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you that. But I'm not gonna cheat that one day and then cheat the next day. You know, I mean, that's a downhill spiral. But by the same token, though, can you handle it? Can you handle whatever it is that you're contemplating? And again, choice is huge in this. If you got your eyes open and you're choosing to do this, fine. It's the unconscious eating that is horrible. Yeah. And mindless. Yeah. And I used to do that. I mean, Thanksgiving, hold back. Exactly. What do you mean hold back? This is Thanksgiving, I would say. I mean, I can hear myself saying something like that. Well, would you like more sweet potatoes? Well, yes, indeed I would. Yeah. Yeah. So absolutely.
Great. Well, Steve, thank you so much. It is an honor to know you. And now it is an honor to introduce you to all of my followers.
Thank you.
So I'm so excited about all the things that are coming up. And I want to say thank you for your passion to serve, and to really help other people.
And I want to thank you. During our first meeting, you offered to do this video, and you remember my reaction to your offer.
Yes.
And I said to you that I had actually asked another influencer to kind of get me started, to give me this opportunity. And that influencer was too busy. It was beyond their schedule. I understood that, but still, I came into that interview with you the first time, not seeking, not expecting, not doing anything. And so thank you for offering to do that for me. You know, we have a mutual admiration for both of our stories, and a healthy, friendly respect for each other as well. To me, I'm richer for having known you. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, we all need each other. And so I'm so grateful.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Well, until next time, I will talk to you later. And thank you so much for this.
You bet. Thank you. Bye-bye.